Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to this lesson 7 of Fantastic Mr. Fox. Now, this lesson's a wee bit different. We'll still read the chapter, but it's not so much of a reading lesson. It's more of a writing task at the end. So I'm going to get you to do a wee bit of writing. So the task will look a wee bit different, but don't worry. You'll handle it. You've been ace so far. I've no worries about this. Right, at the end of the last chapter, the farmers had dug a huge crater. It was like the size of a volcano, and they still hadn't got to the fox because the foxes had been digging and digging and digging to stay out of their way. So we'll see what happens next. At 6 o'clock in the evening, Bean switched off the motor of his tractor and climbed down from the driver's seat. Bunce did the same. Both men had had enough. They were tired and stiff from driving the tractors all day. They were also hungry. I'm a bit hungry too. It's almost lunchtime for me. Slowly, they walked over to the small fox's hole in the bottom of the huge crater. Bean's face was purple with rage. Bunce was cursing the fox with dirty words that cannot be printed. Oh dear. Bogus came waddling up. "Damn and blast that filthy, stinking fox," he said. "What the heck do we do now?" "I'll tell you what we don't do," Bean said. "We don't let him go." "Well, never let him go," Bunce declared. "Never, never, never," cried Bogus. "Did you hear that, Mr. Fox?" yelled Bean, bending low and shouting down the hole. "It's not over yet, Mr. Fox. We're not going home till we've struck you up dead as a dingbat." Whereupon the three men all shook hands with one another and swore a solemn oath, that means like a promise, that they would not go back to their farms until the fox was caught. "What's the next move?" asked Bunce, the pot-bellied dwarf. "We're sending you down the hole to fetch him," said Bean. "Down you go, you miserable midget." "Not me!" screamed Bunce, running away. Bean made a sickly smile. When he smiled, you saw his scarlet gums. You saw more gums than teeth. "Then there's only one thing to do," he said. "We starve him out. We camp here day and night watching the hole. He'll come out in the end. He'll have to." So Bogus and Bunce and Bean sent messages down to their farms asking for tents, sleeping bags, and supper. That's it. It's a bit of a short chapter, but doesn't look good for the foxes, does it? Because they can dig and dig and dig, but now the farmers have dug a huge hole and they're going to camp and starve them out. Well, it says there at the end of the chapter that the farmers wrote letters home, probably to Mrs. Bunce and Mrs. Bean and that, asking for supplies. And I want you to have a wee pause here and think, what would the farmers need if they were going to try and starve out the foxes? So sit there for 4, 5 days maybe. What would they need? Have a wee think. I've got some thoughts. Probably need a tent, definitely, and a sleeping bag. They need some food. They would probably need a water flask. They'd need some soap, maybe. They probably need some fire lighters, matches, maybe a torch, because if the foxes come out at night, they need to be looking down into the hole. It gets cold, doesn't it? So they'll need good jackets and hats, gloves, things like that. Maybe welly boots as well if it gets really wet when you're out in a field in the mud. Lots and lots of things. I wonder what your list looks like. Loads of things that they need. And so what we're going to do today is we're actually going to draft a letter. That means write a letter. And we're going to write it to Mrs. Bean. You can pretend to be one of the farmers, Bunce, Bean, or Bogus, you decide. And you're going to write a letter back home asking for supplies. Now, when we write a letter, there's really, in this one as well, there's 4 elements. Number 1, you always start a letter with dear, and then you put the name of the person you're writing to. So, dear Mrs. Bunce, for example. Then, you need to tell people why you're writing. And the farmers, they've got quite a tale to tell. Could you imagine Mums If carers are that, being happy, if dads are that, we're like, I'm not coming home tonight because I'm trying to catch a fox. How do you think mums and carers would react to that? I tell you, if I told my partner, I'm not coming home tonight because I'm trying to catch a fox, she would not be happy. So you need to explain in that bit, as the farmers do. Let me explain what happened. What were they doing? Why are they still there? Once you've done that bit, then you need to actually get to the body of the letter. And in this case, it's a list. So it's asking, can you bring, and then you can bullet point, what would they like brought up to the fox's hole? The tent, the jackets, whatever it might be. And then to finish a letter, we always put kindest regards, kind regards, yours faithfully, something like that. Just a wee sign off at the bottom. And then you put the person's name. Farmer Bunce, Farmer Bogus, Farmer Bean. So, dear Mrs., explain and tell them why you're writing. Give a list with bullet points of what you need. And then finish the letter off. Cannot wait to see these. If you get them done, posting them on Teams would be great. If you're not doing that, that's absolutely fine. It's no bother at all. Just give the task a go best you can, and I will see you back here again for chapter 8.